Championship, playoff, semi-final, first round. Yes.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Very Biased Opinions. It is time for the playoffs in the Championship. Before we get onto them, we're just going to say congratulations to the sides that got promoted. Congratulations, Leeds United. You absolutely smashed it. Fantastic. I think I speak for everybody in football when I say it's great to have you back in the Premier League. You thoroughly deserved it. Been out of the Premier League for too long. And well done to West Bromwich Albion, who somehow got over the line, despite no doubt putting their fans through the ultimate ringer over the last couple of days. Oh my, there must have been so many of their fans must have aged like 20 years over the last two rounds, where they literally had it in the bag and proceeded to fuck it up. But well done to you, well done to Bilic. You're up again, no doubt to have another yo-yo type season in the Premier League. So who's in the playoffs? Well, we'll get to it in just a second. As always, you can skip ahead if you want to see certain games by using the timestamps down below or the chapters feature on the video itself. But without delaying any more, let's jump in to the first match.
Swansea versus Brentford.
Brentford have got to be the most formidable side going into these playoffs. They steamed and stormed out of lockdown and seemed unbeatable. They went on a crazy unbeaten run right up until when it really mattered, to the point where they could have overtaken West Brom and got into the automatics. And what did they do?
Blew it. They totally freaking blew it.
I have to say it, Brentford fans, you've been great this season, but you choked big time in those final two games. Two defeats to sides you totally should have beaten means that it is playoffs rather than automatic promotion. But it's not all doom and gloom, because you are still a damn fine side. You've scored 80 goals this season. And you conceded 38, and only Leeds have conceded less goals than you, and you actually boast the best goal difference. If they got up into the Premier League, Thomas, it would be the first time they're in the top flight since the 1940s. It's been such a long time. They've been knocking on the door forever. That's why it would have been so great to see them get this automatic spot. But I do think that Thomas Frank has assembled a side that is certainly good enough to win these playoffs. Ollie Watkins is a beast of a forward. He's been, I think, good enough to play in the Premier League for a couple of seasons now, but Brentford have managed to keep hold of him. 25 goals this season. He gets a lot of attentions, and rightly so. Said Benrahma and Brian Mbeumo also finished in double figures, and Josh De Silva also got 9 goals. So they are free scoring side and score goals for fun. They play really attacking football, 4-3-3. The only thing I would say is Frank's been quite blessed with having a settled side all season. They haven't had to really make wholesale changes, so that's been a big plus for them. Experience at the back in Pontus Jansson, Ethan Pinnock as well. They've been real rocks, and Norwegian Christian Norgrad playing as that holding midfielder in front of them. They makes them a real solid outfit. And of course I'm going to love Brentford, of course, despite the fact that they pilfered and robbed my beloved Oxford United. But I have to back them. And I have to show them support because of Shandon Baptiste and Tariq Fosu both going there in January. Two players that I really enjoyed watching and hope to enjoy watching in the Premier League with Brentford. They are up against Swansea, Thomas, the side that just squeaked in the back door. So I'll leave you to talk about them, but I fully expect Brentford to win this game. And I think it will be Swansea 0, Brentford 2.
Well, Ian, you've made your first mistake of predictions. You've bet on the favourite, and as we learnt in the League One playoffs, the favourites never ever win. Take Swansea on the final day of the season. Everyone knows they're not going to make it. Everyone knows Forest is going to do it. Steve Cooper's side need a victory and a 6-goal swing. We're talking about Bournemouth staying in the Premier League here. Something like a complete shock, and they got everything they needed. Forest began the day 3 points ahead of Swansea, lost 4-1 to Stoke. Swansea go, they beat Reading 4-1. There's your 6 goals. They're 7th to 5th. And Swansea are in the playoffs. And this possession-based team are going to dominate. They're going to do the anti-Wickham. Instead of never having the ball, they're always going to have the ball. They're not going to give it up. They've been solid, but pretty unspectacular since the break. They got 5 wins out of 9, but they've taken advantage of everyone else's form, and they're going to continue to do that in the playoffs. Andre, Andre Ayew is their top scorer with 15, but you've really got to look at Ryan Brewster, who since the break has been an absolute revelation. 20-year-old went on a tear. He's got 10 goals on the season. They like to play a 4-2-3-1. Like I said, they're a possession-based side. Mike Vanderhorn is the rock at the back, and Matt Grimes has had a fine year as one of their CDMs. So, everyone thinks this Swansea team won't win. Well, everyone except Swans fans are wrong. Swansea to beat Brentford. Shock of the round. 2-0 to Swansea.
There it is, folks. There it is. Cardiff City versus Fulham.
Ian, have I ever told you that Scott Parker is just one of my favorite football players of all time?
You hadn't until literally this moment, so I'm shocked by that. But fair play if he is. Is it because of that 2012 Euros that he played in for England?
To be honest, it's his hair. I've always really liked his hair. But yes, his greatness for his country is always well remembered. Scott Parker, though, has done a really good job with this Fulham side. They've been consistently near the top of the league all season, which isn't surprising because they spent a boatload to be in the Premier League the year before and then dropped out. The first 2 games after the break, they lost to Brentford and Leeds, which had everyone thinking they were out of it. But since then, they've won 6 and only drawn 1 of their final 7 matches. Parker's stabilized this Fulham side after a disaster of last season, and they have the chance to bounce straight back to the Prem. They pretty much did what Aston Villa did the year before, and it failed very badly for them. There's not much to separate them from Leeds, West Brom, or Brentford. The main area is goals. Even with Mitrovic going out and scoring an absolutely ludicrous 26 goals, which, I mean, you've written, why is he not in the Premiership? It's because he's a liability of a human being. He'll get himself sent off every chance he gets. He's nuts. He would rather bite the ear off, and he's just nuts. Play with mixed formations, but generally they end up in a 4-3-3. If you take Mitrovic out of this side, you're really just not sure whether the team's going to score goals, though. They're an excellent footballing side. They're the second best in terms of possession, and they're first in passing accuracy. So if they take the lead, you're not going to be able to break them down. And I think this is why I've been paired Fulham and Swansea together to talk about. 2 sides are going to dominate the match from start to finish. Fulham are lucky they've got Anthony Knockhart, who still has tons of experience and talent and can make the difference, as well as Bobby Reed, Tom Kearney, Ivan Cavallero. Am I saying that right? But arguably, their player of the season has been their left back, Joe Bryan. Versatile, good defender with 7 assists, so he likes to get forward. But enough of this. Enough of me proving I know minor facts about this team. It's time for me to put my cojones on the line, Ian. I'm going for a Fulham win, and I'm going for big. I think they're going to blow out... Fulham to win 2-1.
Oh, well, we've talked about 3 clubs that like to play quite attacking, quite possession-based football, and now we get to Cardiff City. Not to be too romantic or Shakespearean about it, but it has been a tale of 2 seasons for Cardiff. There normally is a side that makes a late surge for the playoffs. I thought it was Cardiff until Swansea came along on that final day of the season and kind of scuppered my notes there. But they still have been a side that's been on the rails for a long time, been outside of the playoffs, and they have made a late surge to get in there. They came out of lockdown by beating Leeds, and they've only lost 2 out of 9, which has given them this momentum to really get back into the playoffs and try and get back into the Prem at the first time of asking. Obviously the big thing is Neil Harris coming in. Warnock it wasn't working for him. He ran out of steam. He resigned back in November. Harris came in and he pretty much changed them instantaneously, really. It was 14th when he joined the club, and their fortunes dramatically turned around. He likes to play a 4-2-3-1, and they're definitely not a possession-based side. I think they've got one of the lowest possession-based stats and pass accuracy stats in the league. They're a very direct side, but what are they good at? They are undoubtedly the set-piece kings of the Championship. 21 goals they've scored from set pieces, so that is where they are going to be looking to strike teams in these playoffs. And there's also
just a really quick point. Cardiff are actually the worst possession-based side in the league at 42.69% on average.
I thought it was like that. But they do also prove that they are a tough side to beat. And there's been many occasions where they've had crazy games and many occasions where they've come back to take points from losing positions, which should set them up well in the playoffs as well. They've got no out-and-out leading goal scorers. In fact, they had 4 players that finished on 8 goals. Lee Tomlin, Josh Morris, Robert Glatzel and Danny Ward all got 8, which shows you they like to share those goals around. but they've also got a lot of experience in the side. Sean Morrison, Aidan Flynn, Marlon Pack. But also, just like Brentford, I've got to root for this Cardiff side because of the Oxford United old boys. Curtis Nelson, good old Kurt, rock at the back, and Gavin White on the wing. Don't think he plays too much, but he certainly is one for the future, that is sure. They will certainly try to channel their inner Wycombe Wanderers in these playoffs, Tom, and as such, I'm going to say they're going to do a Wycombe-esque shock in this first round, and it is going to be Fulham 1, Cardiff 3.
Oh, good lord. Batter them in. Batter and bruise them.
It's a very, very biased opinions trait to go for goals.
Yes, we've also refused to pick the same side in any of this. So, you can trust us, for our biased opinions listeners, that one of our picks will win.
Unless they're two draws.